All right. Hello and welcome to Parrot Show, the International Women's Day celebration run through the month of May. And the theme of this year is Choose to Challenge. To mark the celebration, we have with us on Parrot Show, former Commissioner for Social Development and Gender Issues, Edo State, Honorable Mrs. Maria Omozele Edeko Esq, Ne Oligbe. You are very welcome, Honorable.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Good to be here. And we say Happy International Women's Month.
Thank you very much.
Remarkable that is a whole month of celebration of women.
It's remarkable. We are glad for the he for she, because being a man celebrating women is something that is uncommon, especially for those of us from Africa. So we have 1 month of North, but we are glad that the United Nations have set this month aside to celebrate the achievements of women, to look at the challenges of women, and to call for support for women, for activities to promote gender equality in our world.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And we, tonight, we have chosen to challenge the plight of the girl child in Edo State. And I believe that there's no other person that is as qualified as you to speak on that very issue, saying that you just, you were the Commissioner for Development and Gender Issues, which encompasses the girl child. So you would know a lot. But for those who do not really know, when we say the girl child, who do not really have the basic understanding, in your opinion, what does the phrase the girl child, what does it really mean?
Thank you very much. When we talk about the girl
network
child internationally, we're talking about women and the young. Hello?
Yeah, the network is very bad.
Okay, I don't know. Let's see. When we talk about the girl child, we are talking about women. We are talking about the young persons, adolescents. We are talking about even children below the age of 18 years and 14 years. So it has to do with
sorry, Honorable. Sorry, the framing, you are too close to the yeah, it's better that way. Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about the girl child, usually, like sometimes that I'm the first girl child to have risen to this level of in politics, to become a commissioner, since we started doing politics in Asia. So internationally speaking, when we talk about the girl child, it includes women, children, and the young persons. So it has to do with the sex, being female.
Okay. All right. Now, the reason why it is important to talk about the girl child and why we have decided to, because the theme of the International Women Day celebration this year is Choose to Challenge. And we decided to look at the different ways that we can actually challenge the plight of the girl child. And you happen to be, for when you were the commissioner, you happen to be in charge of that. And I know you must have done a lot to challenge the plight of the girl child. And those are the things that we are going to be talking about today. For example, trafficking is something that has been very rampant in Edo State for so many years. And I know that government have been trying to do something about it. And I know that you have been saddled with the responsibility of children must have done a lot about it. So we want you to talk about how you have chose to challenge the plight of the girl child from that angle.
Thank you very much. The girl child, when we talk about the girl child in Edo State, we're talking about the challenges. You know, if you look at part of the theme for this year's International Women's Day celebration, it has to do women in leadership, achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. You know, women in leadership. Before I come to the issue of trafficking, I would like to talk about the problem that the girl child has encountered in Nigeria, in Africa, and in Edo State with basic education. You know, education is the key that unlocks, you know, the door to, you know, so many things. When you look at our cultural background, for several years, there is this male preference to the girl child, that you will see parents, they think that the money spent, invested in the education of the girl child is to the benefit of the husband's family. So because of this, so many young women were denied access to education. And this has become a problem for us. Now, when you look at the issue of leadership, from the cultural setting, the deliberate exclusion of women from decision-making position, from political position. Look at all the political parties. They even where they provided for women inclusion in their constitution, the only role they gave to the woman, that the woman leader, that they will mobilize women to vote. And I frown at that. That cannot be the purpose, because one will think when you hear of a woman leader, you are thinking that the woman is going there to ask for, you know, a space, political space for women. So if you look at our challenges, we've been talking about women inclusion, the 35% affirmative action, that women should be given 35% of the elective position and appointive position in order to, you know, create a balance. Because over the years, women, by our cultural, customary laws, women were meant to be seen, not to be heard. So we were not actually included in the decision-making process. When you look at the customary laws that we were dependent on, they tell you that for a customary law to be valid, it needs the assent of the people. But we are aware that when we are gathered in the village square, like in my place in Esaland, where they call Okowe, women are not there. So when laws are made under such system, and you say the assent of the people, women and children are not included among the people that give assent to those laws. So those laws were greatly biased. They did not give political space to women, and that has also filtered into the English laws. So you look at the Edo State House of Assembly today, there is no single woman in Edo State House of Assembly. How can a country, you know, it's like a helicopter, an aeroplane that is working with, I don't even know if that is up to half engine, because 50% of your population not excluded from the decision-making process. So this has been responsible for most of because all the other things, trafficking, these are just this fallout, trafficking, gender-based violence, drug abuse, so we are here today, issue of trafficking. Why? Because the girl child is seen as an object, a chattel, something to be sold, somebody to be exploited. So trafficking is the greatest exploitation of the girl child. So when you look at human trafficking, you look at the causes. They tell you poverty, lack of education, greed, and all that stuff. So the family think the girl child should go out and make money for them, for their survival. The body of the girl child is being seen as an item of sale. This has resulted in huge number of young girls, moving out of the country to go into prostitution and work in plantation and other purposes of human trafficking. So,
Honorable, so what you're saying is that there's a need to address the gender imbalance that we currently have in our society.
Very well. As early as 2016, when I was a chairperson, I was a former chairperson for International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, in Edo State. There was a conference where all stakeholders were gathered. And the theme of that conference was as it then was, women representation, a catalyst for global development. And what were we talking? We were calling stakeholders to meeting to discuss how women can be included in the politics of Edo State. But sad enough, I also had a program I did that time in collaboration with National Democratic Institute, NDI. It's an international body, votes not fight, election not be war. VOW is stop violence against women in election. Because we looked at it, why are women not contesting in election? Women are not contesting because if you look at the you may have for women in the past, when they are holding the meetings, we have had continuously to be made.
Honorable.
Yeah.
We lost there. When you said, if you look at we kind of lost you. Your network was bad. If you could, please go back and lead you, because your network was bad. We didn't hear you anymore.
Okay, thank you. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Maybe what I will do is that anytime your network is bad, when it comes back, I will remind you of where you were so that we can hear the important presentation you're making. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So we had requested that 35% affirmative action that they have been using to sing in Nigeria is a policy. A policy is just a guideline. It is not a law. We've been asking them to make the 35% affirmative action a legal requirement, a constitutional provision, so that whether women go for the midnight meetings or not, women will be allowed to contest for 35% of the position. But what the argument we get is that power is taken by force. So We've asked them, can two unequal, fight for something? Because the customary law has disadvantaged us. We may have not been in the political sphere. It's like a dwarf and a giant. You are putting something, on top of the roof. You ask a dwarf, you ask a giant to go up there to pick that item. That is not equity. So we as a people, we can see the insecurity challenges we are having in the country now. I can clearly say, because women have been excluded from governance in this country, because women feel pain when their community is in trouble, when their children, look at the Northeast, women are being adopted and kept hostage. They are being sexually assaulted, raped. These are all crime against humanity, and international law, regional laws and state laws, they're against all of this. But who is protecting women and children? So
how do you think we can address this imbalance, this gender imbalance or not?
Yes, we can address this imbalance. Like I've said, we need to make constitutional provision for the 35% affirmative action for women. In that case, it means women, 35, for example, at the National Assembly, Senate, and House of Rep, women can contest for 35%, of the space at the House of Assembly, at the local government level. Look at Rwanda. That is another African country where women have attained up to about 60% in elective position. So if we don't make it a constitutional requirement, we are not getting anywhere. Look at the Edo State House of Assembly. It's laughable. I was one of the aspirants to Edo State House of Assembly, a most outstanding candidate, but I never got ticket. So that is where we are. In Edo State today, we don't have a single woman in Edo State House of Assembly. And it's an issue of serious concern.
And that is an indictment on the two political parties. If
of course
you don't have a single woman in Edo House of Assembly, I think there should be a deliberate strategy that says that a certain percentage, whether 35%, must be given to the women, whether it is law or not. The parties have to sign up to it. They have to own up to it, that it is necessary, it is important, and it is urgent that women, because gone are the days where we say women are not important. Women are as good as the men in administration, and sometimes even better. So when it comes to saying you are going for elective positions and saying that women have to fight for it, like you said, we know that it is not that easy. Not in Africa, for example. Women don't have that power. They don't even have the support. So, but we have seen that when they are there, they do better. So what does that mean? That there has to be a deliberate strategy to say, okay, we know that if we allow the women to contest against the men, first and foremost, because of the culture, the terrain, the kind of politics we play in Nigeria, it will be difficult for women to get in. So what do? Then have that deliberate strategy that, okay, this percentage, whether it's 35%, goes to the women. So we now go select the best from people who are ready. So that's what I think, because like you said, except that is done, the kind of terrain, the kind of culture, atmosphere that I know in a country like Nigeria, it will be practically impossible for the women to contest against the men. I know that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, perfect. You see, like this whole year now, we've been on this business, International Women's Day, celebrating it every year. And when it is time, people are everywhere, everybody is holding advocacy, sensitization, and we are getting further and further away from women in leadership. Apart from where you have to, for example, the justice sector. We have a lot of women in Edo State that are judges, but that shows, that is from their intellectual ability, because being made a judge, yes, a little bit these days, but it is also a pride. So if women, we have, I'm sure we have more women as judges in Edo State than men. The last two successive chief judges of Edo State, they've been women. So it goes to, if we give our mothers, our children, our daughters the opportunity, they will do very well. Again, the issue of trafficking in Edo State, we've done a lot in terms of, there is a trafficking committee that was set up by His Excellency, and that trafficking committee, I want to link it with the other one, because these are all part of gender-based violence. As commissioner, and even when I was chairperson of International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, we've dealt a lot with gender-based violence, because human trafficking, rape, defilement, domestic violence, all of these, they fall within gender-based violence. In Edo State, what have we done? There is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015. It was passed by the administration of His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan. When I was the chairperson of FIDA, I worked so hard with the collaboration of Her Excellency, Mrs. Bessie of State State. Currently, as we speak, we're trying to review the law, because when we started operationalization of the law, we found some gaps, some lacuna in the law. We're trying to fill up those gaps so that document, if you look at the law, what did it do? It expanded the scope of violence. And, as it used to be, when we talk about violence those days, we only talk about physical violence, but in this law, we brought this law to a contemporary level to agree with international standards, to human rights standards, where you will not talk about emotional violence, psychological violence, economic violence, and other forms of violence. So the law is a beautiful piece of legislation that expanded the scope. In those days, you could just tell your child, oh, you can never do well. Today, you can't tell your child that here, because the child suffers trauma, which we don't understand. When we talk about economic violence, denial of inheritance right is part of that. You know that the Esa native law and custom is very unfriendly to the girl child, where the girl child is totally disinherited. Inheritance is an economic issue. It's wealth creation. So most of these customary laws were created by men, like I mentioned, and they excluded the girl child. The girl child is supposed to be the weaker person who even need economic empowerment. So, but in Esa land, the girl child is totally disinherited, which is against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because the Constitution states that no one should be discriminated against on the basis of your sex, your religion, your ethnic group. But all these things just happen, and as a country, as a people, we accept all of these things, and the country can move forward. So we do all of this.
Sorry, could you move back a little bit? The framing, you are too close to the.
Yeah, are you okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't want you to be cut off on the framing. Okay.
Okay.
Go on, please.
So when we talk about the law, like I said, has expanded the scope of violence to include emotional violence, economic violence, verbal, psychological. So the law too, what the review we are doing now is to put the mechanism in place, the mechanism for operationalizing that law. In Edo State, His Excellency inaugurated the Sexual Assault Referral Center while I was commissioner. The Sexual Assault Referral Center, we are supposed to have 3. It's one-stop shop where a victim of violence, be it a man or a woman, gets medical treatment, psychological treatment. You know, in Nigeria, we were never dealing with psychological treatment, trauma management. When a criminal breaks into a man's house, rapes a wife, nobody deals with the trauma. When a spouse loses his job, he or she becomes violent. Nobody deals with the trauma. When a girl child is the father of His Excellency, during my time as the commissioner, we work with ROLAC, an international donor. They assisted us to set up a center in Benin here. We proposed other 2 centers, one for Auchi, Edo North, one for Isha, that should be in Uromi General Hospital. So all persons of goodwill, persons in diaspora, it is good to really liaise with the ministry sometimes. Although we have challenges, because if you come again, you will see that His Excellency is trying to strengthen the ministry, because I met a very weak ministry. Sadly, people, they are very key. Because electionary campaigns, we go out, we will do this, we will do that. The civil servants ought to be the persons to implement most of the programs of government. But how knowledgeable are they? How prepared are they? Because at the end of the day, the responsibility is always left with the politicians. No, my sojourn as the commissioner has clearly shown me that we need knowledgeable people. That is why His Excellency is trying to overhaul the system. As commissioner, I was in a ministry, even though I'm a lawyer, a ministry that is supposed to be providing psychosocial support for the community, for families, for people that are victims of gender-based violence. But I made a system where I needed to develop their competencies. I had lots of trainings for them, for psychological training on trauma management. And we also had assistance from ROLAC to train them on managing people that are victims of crime. So, because the new system now, the justice sector, is no longer talking about punishing offenders alone. It's talking about restorative justice for the victim or survivor of crime. These are the new developments. And in Edo State, you know, so many people may not know, because if you are not here, you won't know the serious work that is going on. Because when you have professionals as commissioners minding the offices, I came into the ministry with a wealth of experience, having headed the feeder in Edo State, because all the while I was working on issues of women and children. And you know, my ministry is a ministry that houses all the vulnerable persons, talking about women, children, irregular migrants, persons living with disability, orphans, widows, the mentally ill. And the work is such that, for me, it's exciting, challenging, but the resources to carry out these functions for these our vulnerable persons is very lacking. You saw the NSA protest. There was a program we carried out before now during the International Day on against drug abuse and illicit trafficking. Also, when I was FIDA chairperson in 2017, I organized a program on drug abuse, a tragedy in unity. I doubt if our brothers and sisters, our parents, there is hardly a home these days, you do not have a child that is victim of drug abuse. So we go to, as a ministry, I make sure we're always going to schools because primary school children are doing drug, secondary school children are doing drug, the artisan is doing drug. We have become a drug consuming country. All the nooks and crannies of our state, people are taking drug. And the ENSA protest, you could see the reaction. The children could only hear go, they can't hear come back. You come to our country today, we are having a lot of challenges with street children. That was why one of my recommendations for the state on the eve of my departure when the ESCO was dissolved, the need for them to build rehabilitation center for different categories of children. You go to Lagos State, I'm sure they have almost about 7 of those centers. But in Edo State, we only have 1 center for rehabilitation of children. The children that are in conflict with the law. You have some other group of children beyond parental care. And you have, so come to Benin today, Isha, Auchi, everywhere. You have children that are sleeping on the streets. We need to do something. If you go to Ring Road in Benin City, about 6, 7, bring out a musical instrument. You are playing it in less than 30 minutes. You will have over 15,000 children, homeless children. And people explain it that they are children from other parts of the country. Yes, they are children from other parts of the country because of the conflict in the Northeast and Northwest. They've come to meet us. So what are we doing? Are we rehabilitating them? If we don't rehabilitate them, today you cannot travel on our highway. All our forest area, they are be taken all over by criminals. And we call them herdsmen, we call them bandits. But many of them also are resident with us within the city, within the town. So as a ministry, these were some challenging issues because even if you take the children off the streets, they need education. They need to acquire skills. Because for the children that are in conflict with the law, when I came in as commissioner, I found out that they were supposed to be in the correctional center. That is the correctional facility. But the children were under lock and key, not because government did not provide, but because there was a deliberate attempt to make sure that those children were not cared for. I had to reopen the school for them, the skill acquisition center. There is a video, if I send it to you, when I had a Christmas party for the children said, Your Excellency, even the home we are from, we never had it so good. So it was home away from home. Every good thing that you go to prisons abroad, they are, people can work while in prison. People can learn. But these children, the children that were under my care, they were children below 18 years that were involved in armed robbery, some of them murder, rape, very serious crime. They needed to be rehabilitated. Many of them were dependent on drug. So the Medical Women Association, I had invited them to come in to help us. We're providing therapy for them, for psychiatric treatment, because the children are taking drugs. That was what predisposed them to committing crime. So there is a whole lot of work to be done. You have the orphans. When I also came in, I met challenges there that in Edo State, people sell children. I closed down so many orphanage homes.
Honorable, I'll let you go to the orphan. But before we get to the orphan, you have said a lot. And there's something that I want to ask you about. Most of what you have said how do you think the government of Edo State, the one you were, how do you think they are reacting to these issues raised by you? Do you think that they have been proactive? In your case, do you think that within the short time that you stayed, that you did your best to kind of improve the situation of these children? And there's another thing that I want to say is that when we look at the amount of children, not the children from the Northeast or coming now, but adult children who are on the street, do we not think that it is out of frustration of parents not being able to take care of them, to care for them, and in that case, they have to go out and find a way to survive on their own? What do you think we can do to kind of prevent it right from the home? Because if we can prevent these challenges right from the home, excuse me, the family is able to provide for their children. I don't think we would have cut drastically short the number of children that you will find on the road, saying that they are homeless children. Don't you think so?
Oh, thank you, my brother. Things have changed. Things are falling apart. Times are no longer the same. I recall that even my cousins that were male, they could not even visit us. Our parents will say no. When you see today, we have failed families. Some of them, I don't think it's because of, some say it's poverty, but our parents that brought us up, they were not millionaires. Discipline, the lack of discipline in our homes is a huge problem. And drug trafficking, you go to all the nooks and crannies of our street, they are selling drug. And parents usually, through no fault of theirs, are the last to know. Because you may even be a great parent and your child will fall victim because the children are vulnerable. The drug traffickers are very clever. They are everywhere. And when I'm aware that as a commissioner, I have visited most of the security organizations, NDLA, the police, all of them. But I never saw a real concerted effort to check this trafficking of drugs within our community. If you go to all our forests, they are planting Indian hemp or what's not. So today, our children, they are becoming just like the situation you have in Europe and America. They take all sorts, mokinte, glue, they go to the toilet to sniff it, cocaine, heroin, it's sold everywhere. So I think drug abuse and drug trafficking is largely responsible for the challenges we have, which we need to deal with. It's already getting too late. If we don't deal with it, it's going to be a tragedy, because as early as 1917, like I mentioned, I had done a sensitization program in churches, in mosques, in schools, higher institutions, and the grand finale in Edo State here. All the stakeholders to government institutions. I was with myself and my group, women lawyers, even as a ministry, as a commissioner, we were going around all the agencies to deal with this problem. But today, nothing has happened. So it's just a time bomb waiting to explode. Now, do we have His Excellency, all the recommendations we made is working on it. That is some of the things is trying to put structure in place to employ more workers, psychologists, and all that. You know, Edo State advertised recently to employ more people. All those are fallout from the recommendation made by the various ministries, because he's asking, how can we have about 300-degree turnaround in the public service and the civil service, because they are supposed to do the work. All the gaps we observed is what he is trying to fill up now. And it's my hope that, because you know, even if you, a system we provide X, Y, Z, the human beings, because the work ethics in civil service is not like what we have in international organizations. I came from academic background. The way we work is different. So if Nigerians must survive, Edo State must survive, I believe the civil service and the public service must internalize, and the restructuring is, I fear, what will happen to us.
So what you're saying, Honorable, is that there's a cultural bastardization. There's the absence of leadership. There's a failure. There's a parental failure. The parents are not parenting. The leaders are not representing. And so you think if it continues like this, it will seem that it's almost too late, because you talked about when you were leading and the kind of discipline that you will get from the home. The parents, your parents would say this, don't do this, don't do this, and they live for you. But I guess that today the parents live for themselves and let the children live, find a solution to their problems. That is a big problem in Nigeria that I've seen, that no matter what you say, if parents don't start parenting, then there's a problem. And then we have the government that is not ready to, lead by example. It's not ready to enforce the law. It's not ready to do anything. We've talked about the absence of women in governance. You've talked about a lot. There has to be that deliberate, strategic interest that there is a problem in Nigeria. There's a problem everywhere that needs to be dealt with. And unless we start now, there will be not enough prisons to accommodate our young people of today, because these people are angry. Once you start smoking because you are angry or you are frustrated, and then you don't know the consequences that would bring to you, at a point in time, it becomes too late for you to go back. They can take that person to prison 50 times. It's not going to make any difference, because the person doesn't know what he or she is doing. So that is where we need to talk about leadership and parenting. How can we bring these two? How can we bring them together to know that there's a problem and this problem must be dealt with?
Well, you see, there is, there is this say, when good parents are giving birth to children of questionable character. You can imagine when the ones of questionable character, they are giving birth to the bad one. It is continued advocacy and sensitization. And like I said, one of the area that is that has been quite neglected is the area of providing psychosocial support in our community, rehabilitation. We have so many wrong people in position that doing the right thing in Nigeria, you are somebody that must be threatened, you understand? So we must have a system that is accountable. And like today, we have a weak system of redress, So the advocacy, the community, one beautiful thing that my ministry did, and with the support of His Excellency, was that governance is not meant for people at the city center alone, in the state capital. So what we started doing, my tenure was brief. I came in during the political crisis. I spent a year and few months, in midst of the political crisis, but we did a lot. What we tried to replicate the programs that we have in the capital, in the other two senatorial districts. So that is why everybody needs to support to rebuild our homeland, to rebuild our community. When we carry out programs, every time you see everybody come, they want to carry out a program on human trafficking, on gender-based violence, they are all concentrated in the city. I have always told them, no, serious trafficking is taking place in the rural community. Gender-based violence is taking place in the rural community. The elderly in the rural community, they are neglected. The widows are neglected. The orphans are neglected. So what this administration was started was to, anything we are doing in the capital, of course, the capital will always get more attention, but we try to draw the attention of government to those rural areas, and we carry out such activities in selected rural communities because they should benefit from government. So it's continuous sensitization of our people. We go to the churches to speak to them, for them to be able to reach out to their people on the danger of drug, the need for parents to do the job assignment God gave to them. It's not easy either for the parents. Like I said, the drug traffickers are the greatest problem we have. If they are not dealt with, we are going to have serious problems.
Hello?
Hello.
Could you mute your mic, please?
I should mute my mic.
No, not you. There is someone that has just come. Esiwe, could you mute your mic, please? Okay. Honorable, I understand what you're saying, but you see, the strategies applied when you are carrying out some of these projects, like you talked about what you were trying to do and what the government was trying to do, and you say that some people might not be aware of it. That I'm looking at the how are these efforts communicated to the people? How do you pass the information? Because you've said a lot and that are going on in Edo State. A lot of people might not be aware. Is it that there's no creative way of passing information, not just to the Edo people, but to the international community to know that things are going on? Because if you embark on any project and people are not aware, then it's as good as nothing is being done. What do you think what effort is being carried out in that aspect to ensure that when you think of something that will affect the people positively, that the people know about it, and people who wants to collaborate or play a part know that something like that is going on. How can we have that information dissemination strategy that
Well,
is
like
program?
your channel now, this is a channel of communication, and it's a very welcome development, because most because of the issue of social media these days, when there are programs, they are disseminated through social media, through the normal channels of communication, like the television, the radio, and we have jingles sometimes. So, but I think the consciousness of our people, we really need to, that we have really, you see, my heart bleeds for this country. We have lots of challenges that people in positions, some of them really don't even know what they are doing. They are just there because of political patronage. And people that are passionate about our people, majority of them don't really have opportunity to do the work they ought to be doing. So different people try to shortchange members of our community. You still have some NGOs too, because most of our programs, if we are able to disseminate information, it will help our people, because the radio is better, since the radio, both in those in the interior, they can have access to radio program. But you know, we just continue to try, and that's why the insecurity problem must be solved, because that's another burden, another new dimension to the challenges we are having in the country. So if the community, we had peace, it will be easier, because if you are moving from here now today to Lagos, from Benin to Lagos, you are moving to Isha, you are afraid because you may be kidnapped. If you are going out to sensitize our people, to tell them the need for good parenting, to inform them to watch over their children, because the evildoers selling drugs are all around. You may be kidnapped while you are going. So that is why we need to deal with this insecurity problem, so that everybody can do what we need to do for our community.
Do you think that
another problem
that
programs in Africa generally?
Do you think that the Edo State government is overwhelmed with the insecurity problem?
Well, you see, this is not an Edo State issue. If you look at when the social contract theory, the theory that bettered the state, was a contract where the people gave up some of their rights and said something like a government should be formed. They donated their power and security of life and property. The power was donated to the state. And in Nigeria, that power is concentrated in the federal government. Before the advent of this social contract, we were defending ourselves. We had our own armies. We had ways of defending our local community from invaders. So today we are caught unprepared as a people. The police is federal police, the Nigerian army. So the states and the local government, they do not have the structure. We'll be talking about state policing. We'll be talking about the local government policing. Instead of people thinking of our safety first before any other consideration, they will be telling you if you have a state police, you have local government police, they will use it to procure their election, their political whatever. That should not be our concern now. Because if you look at the invaders, the herdsmen, they are invading, they are attacking soft spots. Because in the rural communities, we do not have the presence of security personnel. So the earlier we address this issue and have a state police and they have a state local government police, even the Nigerian army, I am one person that have recommended you should recruit people from their states. Let them remain and work within their state and defend their local government and their state. Have barracks. When we were growing up in Uromi, we had garrison. I knew those were fallout of the Civil War. When you attack an institution today, you attack our people. They don't have arms. You are telling somebody carrying AK-4 that somebody carrying a wood should go and use wood to drive somebody with AK-47 away. So the earlier something is done to empower the state government and the local government, the better for us. Even if we say individually, secure yourself, when you give arms to civilians indiscriminately, that becomes a problem for the future. How do you retrieve those arms? Self-defense. So I think those of you in diaspora and everybody from the international community need to speak to the federal government. The earlier they have state police and local government police to defend our homeland, the better for everybody.
I think so. I agree with you, because when I watch television and see what is put on social media, where they talk about some part of the country not wanting the other part of the country, I see it as hypocrisy. I think we do know what is going on. And I think that, like I said before, there's the absence of leadership. There's a breakdown of leadership. We don't have leaders in Nigeria again, unfortunately. Because, for example, I know that years ago, when the herdsmen come to the South, they are welcomed, they are made to feel at home. They didn't have any AK-47. They were not killing people. So whatever they want in the South, they get. And now we're talking about people coming to the South with AK-47, women being raped, people being killed, and people being kidnapped. And all these atrocities are traced to herdsmen coming in with their heads. And I don't know how we think the federal government think that the people can just keep quiet and not say something. And that's where I'm looking at, what kind of leadership do we have now? That you know that some part of the countries that, let's even look at it from the point of view of farming. If people can no longer go to the farm, if the parents we are talking about do not have the opportunity to go to the farm and farm for their family, that's frustration. And what it means is that when they are angry, it leads to parental abandonment. They are no longer able to take care of their children. And these children at a point in time had to fend for themselves. And how did they do it? In the course of trying to live, in the course of trying to survive, people are taking undue advantage of them. And then they grow harshly into adults. And in trying to forget a lot that happened to them, they go into using drugs, smoking, and all. And it's just not possible to manage a people like that, to manage a country like that. Something has to be done. You've said it. You say AK-47. If we give AK-47 to everyone to defend themselves, against who? They're going to turn it on the innocent, because when that is over, then you have another case. What I think is supposed to happen is the government taking leadership, showing purposeful leadership, whether it's the federal empowering the state, like you said. I asked the question just now. I wanted you to say something because I knew what you were going to say, because the states are practically helpless. We need to have a purposeful leadership from the top, someone who can stand up and say, yes, this is this should be done. Federal lawmakers, do your business. Do what you need to do. The executive, do what you need to do. The state government, do what you need to do. And then that applies to the local government. If we have that kind of system, like we have in responsible countries, then we will be talking about how we can end this unfortunate situation that we have in Nigeria. But it's quite unfortunate. Yeah. There's no leadership and there's a culture of I don't care. Then these children, they are made to grow up on their own and they grow up the wrong way. And then we come to this situation where we say it's almost too late, because if there's no one talking, if there's no one making the laws, if there's no one implementing the law. You said something about the correctional center that you went to. Government provided the money, but people didn't want to use it. I heard you say that for some reasons, what was meant to be done was not done.
Yeah.
That again is a problem of corruption. That is again is a problem of people saying, I do not care.
Yeah.
I do not care.
It is a weak redress system, because people, though they tell you a boy day, you know, it means nothing to you. But when I came, I told the boy is here, a boy, because you see, when a system where people, sinful people should be punished, and Nigeria never punishes sinful people. Like the orphanages, I had to close down. They were selling babies, and it wasn't an easy thing, but I had to close them down. And you find some person that were selling children. I had to take up those challenges, that we can't continue like this. So it is not, you know, fighting wrong things is not an easy thing, because we have been so persistent in doing wrong things in this country. And until we learn to know that punishment is like, when there were people very close to me, politically, family, and all that. When they were involved in anything, they come to tell me, oh, Madam Commissioner, I tell them I forgive you. Forgiveness is a different thing. That is a personal, but there is the punishment for doing wrong thing. You should be punished, because you are punished to atone, because the punishment, it comes from the value, the Christian value of sin and repentance and atonement. But Nigerians don't see, when you punish somebody, they think you are a bad person. You're a bad commissioner. So people continue to destroy our system. And everybody just wants to keep quiet that it is okay. It can't be okay. One thing you don't do well in a small circle, another person does not do their own well. We are all done for as a people. So I used to have lots of hope about this country, but today I really don't know if that hope is still there. The level we have degenerated to, it will shock your conscience.
Honorable, you have to have hope, because when we the Edo people worldwide came together and said Governor Obaseki is who we are supporting, I guess you were still a commissioner or so. So you were part of those that we supported. So we believe that what was going on, we didn't like what was going on in the state. And so we wanted Obaseki to remain, because we believe that Obaseki could give us that semblance of hope that was that has just ebbed away from the state. So when I hear you say you do not have hope, I say no, because we have, I know you are no longer a commissioner, but we repose that confidence on you people. And we are hoping that this state of hopelessness, Governor Obaseki has another 4 years to do something, at least something. When you go in, posterity will judge him that at the point that he came in, he started something. He has 4 years now. He must use that 4 years to consolidate some of these whatever you are doing and you talked about, he must use these 4 years that he has to spend to put structures in place in a way that we can say, yes, the reason why we reposed confidence on Obaseki when it was time for him, when some people said they didn't want him, they were playing the gatekeepers, they thought they saw themselves as the godfathers, and we said, no, you can't do that. You can, until the people, this is the people's power. But the people's power has a limit. It gets up to a point. When we gave that confidence to the government, we expect the government to work for us. In your opinion, as a government that you have served, do you think that we can be hopeful that Governor Obaseki's administration will try to redress some of these concerns that you have raised this evening?
Thank you. You know, during the campaign and the election, I was everywhere in the state. Not because canvassing for support for His Excellency, Mr. Godwin Oyase Obaseki, not because I was a commissioner, but you know, I'm an activist and a human rights person. I did it out of my deep conviction because I saw a man that was restructuring Edo State for Edo State to be able to deliver on the real purpose of governance. And I can tell you, if you are in any international institution, the best practices in the world, they are what Obaseki is using to administer Edo State. Now, we did ministerial presentation, each of the ministries. His Excellency was interested in the future. What is it you are thinking we must do in the future for the good of our people? And this is not political. Since he came in, he has brought in so many professionals to train the staff, the civil servants, like I mentioned. They are training and retraining them. They are closing the gap, employing the persons that can really do this job, not in the old way, the civil service. What we are doing here in Edo State today, what His Excellency is doing, is to turn around the civil service and public service to the way the national organization should function. So it is my belief,
Honorable,
my very strong hope. Yeah.
I'm sorry, when you say it's to turn around, your line went bad. If you could start from there. We didn't hear you.
Okay. Now, what I'm saying, the structure His Excellency is putting on ground now, the training of the staff, recruitment of a person, he's totally restructuring the civil and public service to be able to deliver on his mandate. And we are going to have a different Edo State that any other part of the country that cares, that wants to sincerely improve their system, they will come here to borrow leave from what is happening. The only thing is that, like I have said, there must be check and balance in the system, because human beings are the most difficult people to manage. His Excellency is putting everything in place. Policies are being put in place, structures are being put in place. But the human beings, the adult people who are to drive that process are being trained and retrained. They must shun iniquity. And people must be punished. That conspiracy theory, say now we all of us are civil servants, all of us are public servants. You don't punish people that do wrong thing. That is the only area I think if we ensure, though His Excellency has said that, if he finds you on the wrong side, they will try you through the rules, the civil service rule, and process you for the court to prosecute such erring staff. So I'm sure with what we are doing, we are going to have a beautiful Edo State. I am not in doubt at all that we are going to have the electorate will not be disappointed by the special grace of Almighty.
Yeah, I was going to say that monitoring and implementation and then punishment, they all go together. Whatever His Excellency and his administration is putting in place, is not just put structures in place. In fact, we always say that Nigeria has more structures than any other country in the world, but it's the implementation, it's the monitoring, and it's the punishment. And they are the problems, because every other country, it could be any other country in Europe could easily become Nigeria or worse than Nigeria if you don't have monitoring, if you don't have implementations, if you don't have punishment. Any country can be. But when people know that if you do something, you pay for it. If you do something that warrant getting reward, you will be rewarded handsomely. If you do something that would need punishment, you will be punished. And I say it now, and I say it again, that His Excellency should know that there was a point I was sitting in this house where I'm sitting now, watching TV and looking at the internet, and people said it was gone. They said it was gone. But the adult people, including myself, we said no. It depends on us to decide if His Excellency will go or not. So that is the power of the people. The power of the people, His Excellency has the power of the people. So His Excellency should not be afraid to work for the people. If there's anything that he does not like or he does not want, he should, as a matter of urgency, do the needful, because that is what the people want. At the end of the day, posterity will judge him. At the end of the day, the people wants to be able to beat their chest and say, yes, we were right when we looked at this man and said, this is the man we want to follow. So he still has that good will. All he needs to do is to let the people know, this is what I'm doing for you. Judge me with it. And the people will be with him, because we want a different Edo State. We voted for His Excellency because some of us didn't vote, but we supported him in every way to ensure that by the time he's leaving, we would have a different Edo State. And we are still with him. And we will be with him till the end if he does the needful. If we find out that he's not doing the needful, then we will have a problem. But for now, we are giving him unconditional support to do whatever he can to fix Edo State and let posterity judge him forever. I will say that. And with you on what you said, we have seen him and we think he's the right man to do it. He has the aid with him. He has the intellectual capability with him. He has everything to do it. So he should go ahead and do what he has to do. So, but we are coming to the end of the show. Let me ask you, I know you were a commissioner, and is a new administration, and you put in a lot. I know that you are a barrister. Is that the last of politics with you, or we are going to see more of you in politics? Because you were already talking about women in politics. I hope you won't run away like some other women.
Well, I don't intend to run away because
Could you
I believe
to
that
could you
my parents
honorable
and the
your framing
yeah.
your could you come up a little on the frame?
Okay.
All right, okay. All
Are
right.
you okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not going away just now. I, by the special grace of God, I know my parents have trained me, and the country too have invested in me. At least going through the some of the best institutions in the world here and outside the country. I know that by His grace, that the problem we have in politics is this money politics, which is the bane of the Nigerian politics. That is the only discouraging factor, because I don't think I have that ocean of money, but the intellectual capacity, the good mind to do what is right for my people, the passion is there. So I hope that I'm able to, God gives me the grace to do, the opportunity to give of what God has endowed me with for my people. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable, I really wish you the very best of luck in all your future endeavor. I can see, I'm able to look at you and see that, yes, this is someone that we can relate with. This is someone that has the intelligence and the passion. I really wish you the very best of luck in whatever you decide to do. But before you go, I would love you to do two things. And starting with the women, is International Women's Month. Could you send a message to the women? And then I'll tell you the second one.
Okay. So we, on behalf of the organizer of this program, we wish women in Edo State, Nigeria, and globally happy International Women's Day. Inclusion of women in the politics of Africa, Nigeria, and Edo State. Women, we hope the state will protect and promote the rights of women, and protect women against gender-based violence and all the abuses that women as mothers have suffered over the year. Happy International Women's Day.
Okay. Now, if you just come up a bit, come up a bit on your frame, you look a little bit, all right, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Now, to the girl child, I want you to send a message of inspiration to them that they can be whatever they want to be.
Yeah, for the girl child, they should take example from us. We were not from, we were from average home, and hard work, your studies. If you can acquire education, skills, self-respect, you will do better than us. The future is great. The opportunities are there. And today, the level of awareness, the level of support for the girl child is unprecedented. We never had it so good during our time. So I know that they are going to have a very beautiful future, and the country and those states in particular, to look at the educational system here, we have a very beautiful lady who is steering the ship in the universal basic education sector. very innovative system. And you won't believe it. I was in school in my local government area for open day. You know, public school those days, there is nothing like open day. This government have introduced that. As commissioner, I was in my local government to check the books of the children, to check the environment where they were learning. I was impressed by what Edo State government have done in the educational sector. And today, we also have Edo Job, where children are trained in terms of skill acquisition. Even the ministry where I was Commissioner, Ministry of Social Development, where Skill Acquisition Center, children are, you know, both in terms of learning, you know, modern ways in terms of the computer and using different packages. The Edo job matching, the creativity in this government. The sky is just the limit for the girl child if they, you know, make themselves available to benefit from all of these opportunity that is being created by those state government. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Honorable Mrs.
Sorry,
Marie.
one thing I would like to say, yeah, the girl child must shun drug abuse. Children, all children, both male and female,
Okay.
consumption of illicit drug is going to destroy their lives. So they should run from and flee from anybody that wants to introduce them into taking any substance.
Okay. All right. I agree with you. And to the girl child, I want to say that the plight of the girl child is much. We know that. We know that we have a culture that do not understand that the girl child should be protected. Every child should be protected. It is unfortunate that we have people who prey on little children, especially the girl child, who rape little children, who punish little children, who beats little children, who bully little children, especially the girl child. When the girl child goes to school, whether it's the lecturer, whether it's the student that wants to bully the girls, is unacceptable. They should be ashamed of their actions. It should not be done. And we are begging the government, both the federal, the NGOs, the state government, the local government, to always protect children, especially the girl child. It's difficult enough not having money. It's difficult enough for girls having to be married off early when they are not ready. It's difficult enough when they are not part of those who would inherit anything from their parents. It's difficult enough when they are looking for money for education. Then after all those challenges, we still find the society wanting to prey on the girl child. They want to rape little children. Even when they are adults, they want to rape them. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable no matter where it is, whether it's in Nigeria, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in any part of the world. But we are talking about Nigeria now, and we're talking about Edo State. We should please stop it. But this government of Edo State, a government that we have reposed our confidence on, should do whatever it takes. We are begging to ensure that if you in any way harm the girl child, you are punished and you are exposed to the world to know what you have done, so that we can join in helping to punish whosoever is against the girl child. The girl child must survive. The girl child needs something. Like, for example, if you are from Edo State and you live abroad, there are a lot that the girl child needs, whether it's computer, whether it's books, whether it's clothes, whatever we can do to take to a partner in a very pragmatic way with the Edo State government to ensure that we put hope and smile on the faces of the girl child and the children. It will be welcome. It will be appreciated. I always say that the government cannot do it alone. If we think the government can do it alone, then we are joking. We must, in a very, very practical way, come together with the government and say, how can we help? But at the same time, the government has to be principled enough and trusted enough to give that leadership for people to be able to come and say, I want to help. And when they come, they are not, because I've had situations where people go to Nigeria to do something. Honorable Okonjo, well, I said it the other day that a pharmaceutical company came to Nigeria and they were frustrated out. And so they came to her and said, we wanted to come to Nigeria, but we were not able. The terrain was just not friendly. There is that situation also. So this is where the governor, His Excellency, has to monitor whatever is happening in the state, because we have a culture of people not wanting to do the right thing, but they can speak the best of English. Doing the right thing is a problem. So we are begging. It's International Women's Month, and the theme is choose to challenge. Everything that has been said today, if they are put in place, then the girl child will live in a better environment. The girl child will find empowerment, we find blessings. So that is why we need a purposeful leadership. We need a government that is responsive, transparent, and proactive in whatever they have to do. On that note, Honorable Mrs. Maria Omozele Edeko Esq, I want to thank you. This is just the beginning. We have a lot to talk about. We are very happy to have you. We hope that very soon you will come again so that we begin to tease out some of those things that are affecting us. A lot of people, especially in the diaspora, do not really have this firsthand information of what is going on. If we have a situation, an opportunity like this, where we speak directly to the people concerned and they give us their own version of what is going on, then we have that firsthand information and we won't have to rely, because the social media is the good, the bad, the ugly. And if you don't start having a creative way of disseminating information, then unfortunately people have to rely on those bad and ugly information. In the midst of trying to sort for the good information, you come across the bad and the ugly information, and at the end, you don't have a way of knowing what the truth is. For example, we had a show yesterday where we heard directly from the PRO from the Institute of Construction Technology and Management located in Uromi, where we cleared the air on the number of people that were kidnapped. People were saying it's 5, it's 10. And so he said there were 2 people, but at least we now know because we heard from them. And we've heard a lot from you today. And these videos are going to be out there. We're going to cut them into bits, customize them, and leave them out there for people to watch and inform themselves. That is why the need to always meet and talk like this is important. On that note, I want to say thank you for coming. And I want to thank everybody that have been following us, watching, that we love you. And until we come your way again, I just want to say thank you so much, Honorable, and thank you to everyone watching. Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.